Good morning students, this is 12th class biology, lecture 3 of chapter 9, strategies for enhancement in food production. Topics to be discussed today are steps of plant breeding, breeding in wheat, rice, sugarcane and millets, plant breeding for disease resistance and conventional method of plant breeding. So let's start with the steps of plant breeding. Two steps of plant breeding we have already discussed in previous lecture. So this is third step for plant breeding and this is cross hybridization among the selected parents. Second step was selection of the parents, and now after the selection of the parents, the third step will be cross hybridization among the selected parents. So in this step what is done? It is the process in which desired characters are genetically combined from two different parents to produce hybrid plant. Okay, so these two selected parents are hybridized here and the desired characters of the two parents will combine to form a new hybrid plant. Okay, so two different parents produce a hybrid plant having the desired characters or you can say the genetic combination of two parents. For example, high protein quality of one parent is combined with disease resistance from another parent. Consider one plant is having disease resistance power and another plant is having high protein quality. Okay, so these two plants are mated here. Okay, the breeding is done between these two plants to produce a new plant having both these characteristics. Means that new plant should have the high protein quality and the disease resistance power. You can understand this concept by this example of cone. So see here, one of the cone is having good length, okay, and another is having better quantity of grains. Okay, so if these two are combined, means if the breeding is done between these two, considering one as female and another as male, okay, as male plant you can say. So after breeding there will be chances in a hybrid plant to that the combined character of both these will come. So this is the hybrid cone, okay, having a good length and the good quantity of the grains. Now what is the limitation of this step? So here we are talking about the normal breeding between two plants having the desired characteristics. Okay, so this normal breeding is very time consuming process and it is a tedious process because the normal breeding method of the plants takes time. So it is very time consuming and tedious process. Hybrids may not combine the desirable character. So this is the second limitation you can say. If the two plants having the desirable characteristics are bred and a new hybrid plant we obtain. So it is not necessary that hybrid plant is having all the desirable characteristics of the two plants. Sometimes undesirable characteristics also appear with the desirable characters. Okay, so this is also a limitation. So hybrid may not combine the desirable characters. Sometimes, usually only hundreds to 1,000 crosses show the desirable combination. So practically what happened, if the two plants having the desirable combinations are combined, okay, so out of the only hundreds to thousands, okay, out of thousands or out of hundreds, only one plant will have that desirable combination. Okay, so you can say that it is a tedious process. Now fourth step of plant breeding, and this step is selection and testing of superior recombinants. So in this step what is done? Selection and testing of superior recombinants. Recombinants means the plants or you can say hybrid plants which we have obtained after the hybridization of the selected parents. Okay, now out of all those hybrids, superior recombinants means the plants having the desirable combinations will be selected and tested. Okay, so here careful scientific evaluation of progeny is required. Progeny means the you can say the all the plants which are obtained after the hybridization of the parent plants. Okay, so that progeny is carefully evaluated, right? It yields plant that are superior to both parents. Superior to both parents means which are having a combination of desirable characteristic. Okay, because many plants will be obtained after the hybridization. Now all the hybrid plants will not have the desirable combination. Only one out of hundreds or thousands will have that desirable combination. So we need to select that only, right? And that is called superior recombinant. So what is done here? That superior recombinant is selected. So it yields plant that are superior to both parents. Means when we carefully evaluate the progeny, then we will get the plant that is superior to both parents, or we can say the plant that can be called superior recombinant. Okay. Now these are self-pollinated. These superior recombinants, or you can say these plants having the desirable combination, will be self-pollinated. Okay. These are self-pollinated for several generations till they reach a state of uniformity, or you can say homozygosity. So you know what will happen after the self-pollination? Due to self-pollination, there will be a state of homozygosity, means the alleles, the good you can say the alleles which are responsible for the desirable characters will come in homozygous condition, right? After the self-pollination for several generations. Okay, so the self-pollination for several generations is done and a state of uniformity or homozygosity will be achieved. Okay, so that the characters will not segregate in the progeny. So what is the benefit of this homozygosity state? Here the characters will not segregate in the progeny now. Okay, because the homozygous condition means the good alleles, or you can say the alleles responsible for the desirable characters have come together, have come in homozygous condition, so there will be less chances of their segregation in the progeny. Now after that, the fifth step, or you can say the last step for the plant breeding, is testing, release and commercialization. Okay, so here the newly selected lines are evaluated for their yield. Newly selected lines means we have selected the superior recombinants, then we will test those. Okay, the newly selected lines are the plants obtained after the self-pollination of the superior recombinants. So these are evaluated now for their yield. What is the yield of these plants? It is evaluated here, and also other agronomic traits. Other agronomic traits like plant height, number of leaves, number of you can say quantity of the food, quality of the food on that plant. Okay, so all these agronomic traits are evaluated, and also the disease resistance power. So all these characters like their yield, their agronomic traits and their disease resistance power is evaluated in the selected lines. Selected lines are the plants obtained after the self-pollination of superior recombinants. So this is called evaluation, or you can say testing. Okay, now this is done by growing them in research field. So how these are tested? By growing them in a research field and recording their performance under ideal fertilizer application. So in research field there will be ideal fertilizer application. Okay, that all the fertilizers which are required for the plant growth, for the good development of plant, will be given there. Okay, and the good irrigation will be given, means the ideal condition for the irrigation will be there, and also other crop management practices which are required for the good growth of the plant will be given there. Okay, so, and such type of fields are research fields, and first of all these plants are tested in research field. Okay, for all these characteristics: disease resistant power, agronomic traits and the yield. So these plants are tested in research field first for all these characteristics, And after that, the evolution is followed by testing the materials in farmers field. So after that, the same plants will be tested in the farmers field, because in farmers field ideal conditions cannot be there. Okay, like there can be a lack of irrigation or lack of fertilizer application in the farmers field. Okay, so these are evaluated in farmers field for at least 3 growing seasons. Okay, because the yield can vary season to season for at least for at least 3 growing seasons at several locations in the country, because soil can vary from location to location. Okay, so these plants are tested at several locations and for at least 3 seasons in the farmers field, representing all the agroclimatic zones. Now we are saying that these are tested in several locations, so soil can vary in several locations, and also the agroclimatic, the other climatic, along with the soil, other climatic conditions are also different in different locations. Okay, so these are tested at different locations. Now the material is evaluated in comparison to the best available local crop cultivar. Okay, now the material means the you can see the plant which are grown in these farmer fields are now tested and their yield is compared with the local crop cultivar, that is a check or reference cultivar, means the plant that is already available. Okay, the variety of the same crop that is already available, so the yield is compared with that, right? And only after that it is commercialized, means if after the comparison, after all this testing and evaluation, it is released for the commercialization. Now we will discuss that how new varieties of wheat and rice produced due to plant breeding have increased the food production in India. Okay, so let's discuss. Agriculture accounts for approximately 33% of India's GDP, right, and employs nearly 62% of the population. So 62% of the population get their occupation due to agriculture, you can say. Okay, in India, food production has increased by the development of high yielding varieties of wheat and rice in mid 1960s. Okay, because in 1960s new varieties of wheat and rice were produced due to plant breeding. By combining the two different varieties of the wheat, a new variety of the wheat was produced, and likewise a new variety of rice was produced. Okay, and these varieties of wheat and rice were very high yielding varieties. So food production has increased in India due to these varieties of wheat and rice, and it leads to green revolution. Okay, so in mid 1960s green revolution was there due to new varieties of different crops. During 1960 to 2000, wheat production increased from 11 million tons to 75 million tons. So this is the you can see the increase in the production of the wheat. And the rice production increased from 35 million tons to 89.5 million tons. So you can see here that how the green revolution came due to these new variety of wheat and rice. Here we have some examples of these new varieties of wheat produced due to plant breeding, okay, and which lead to green revolution. So Nobel laureate Norman E. Borlaug. He was the scientist working in International Center for Wheat and Maize Development, Mexico. Okay, so he developed semi-dwarf variety of wheat, and this semi-dwarf wheat variety was a high-yielding wheat variety. Okay, and it contributed to for the Green Revolution. In 1963, high-yielding and disease-resistant wheat varieties like Sonalika and Kalyan Sona were introduced in India. So both these, Sonalika and Kalyan Sona, you can say these are the hybrid varieties of the wheat, and these are high yielding varieties of the wheat, and these were responsible for the Green Revolution also. Now these are examples of some hybrid varieties of rice. So semi-dwarf rice varieties were derived from IR8 and Taichung Native 1. Okay, so these are two rice varieties, and derivatives of these varieties were produced. Those were semi-dwarf rice varieties. Okay, those were hybrid varieties, and these hybrid varieties were derived from IR8 one variety of the rice. As you can see here, this is IR8 variety of rice. Okay, and this another semi-dwarf variety of rice was derived from this. Okay, by using this, a semi-dwarf rice variety was produced that was hybrid. Okay, it was hybrid of IR8 and also Taichung Native 1. Okay, it was used for making a semi-dwarf rice variety. So this IR8 rice variety, it was initially it was developed at International Rice Research Institute, that is also called IRRI. Okay, and this International Rice Research Institute is in Philippines, and Taichung Native 1 variety of rice was from Taiwan. These are examples of some other good rice varieties. These are later better yielding and semi-dwarf varieties like Jaya and Ratna. So Jaya and Ratna, both these are rice varieties, both you can say hybrid rice varieties. Okay, so both these were developed in India. Next is how hybrid sugarcane varieties were produced using plant breeding method. Okay, so see here, this is Saccharum barberry. Saccharum barberry, this is the scientific name for one of the variety of sugarcane, and another variety of the sugarcane is Saccharum officinarum. Okay, Saccharum is the genus name here for the sugarcane. Okay, so Saccharum barberry and Saccharum officinarum, these are two different varieties of the sugarcane. Okay, so out of this, Saccharum barberry, grown in North India but poor sugar content and yield. Okay, this was found in North India, but its sugar content was very less and its yield was very less because of the thin stem. Okay, so this Saccharum barberry was crossed with Saccharum officinarum, another variety of the sugarcane, and this Saccharum officinarum was found in South India. So it was present in tropical canes in South India, and it was having thick stem and high sugar content, but do not grow well in North India, right? So this Saccharum officinarum was not able to grow in North India due to different climatic conditions and different soil conditions, agroclimatic conditions, you can say, right? So a new variety of sugarcane, by the hybridization of these two, by breeding of these two, was produced. Okay, so and got a hybrid sugarcane after breeding these two varieties, and this hybrid sugarcane was having desirable qualities like high yield, means the desirable qualities of both these, the good qualities of the Saccharum officinarum, like thick stem and high sugar content, you can say high yield, but it was not able to grow in North India. So when it was hybridized with the Saccharum barberry, the new variety now was able to grow in North India also. Okay, so we can say the desirable characteristics of both these were hybridized to get a new variety of sugarcane, right? Next is example of some millets, that how the different varieties of millets were produced by plant breeding, and how the plant breeding has helped us to produce different types of crops, different good varieties of crops. So hybrid maize, jowar and bajra have been developed in India by the breeding of different varieties. Okay, it includes high yielding varieties resistant to water stress. So all the good qualities in one breed. Okay, Like this is Vivek Hybrid 9, a good variety of the maize. This is QPM version of Vivek Hybrid 9, right? So this is a good variety of jowar and bajra. So different varieties of of all these millets have been produced by plant breeding. Now next topic is plant breeding for disease resistance. Plant diseases cause crop losses up to 20 to 30% or even total, right? There are different plant diseases, different pathogens can attack on plant, different bacteria, viruses, fungi can attack on the plant, and these will be responsible for the crop loss. Okay, so yield will decrease. So there is a need to produce new varieties of plant which are disease resistant. Okay, so disease resistant cultivars enhance food production, right? So if a plant will be disease resistant, then obviously the food production will increase, and helps to reduce the use of fungicides, the chemicals which are used to kill the fungi, and the bactericides, the chemicals used to kill the bacteria, right? So the disease resistant cultivars or disease resistant varieties of the plants will increase the food production and will reduce the use of different chemicals, right? Now resistance of host plant is genetic ability to prevent the pathogens from the disease. Okay, so what is meaning of this resistance? Disease resistance. How this disease resistance power will come in a plant? Due to genetic ability, you know, due to presence of any specific allele of any gene. Okay, so resistance of the host plant, you can say this resistance power is the genetic ability of the plant. Okay, and with the help of genetic ability, it can prevent the pathogen from the disease, from causing the disease in that plant, right? Now how this genetic ability will come in plant? Due to manipulation. Okay, how that manipulation can be done? By plant breeding, right? So by plant breeding, disease resistant power can also come in plant, and that can be very useful. First you need to know about these different diseases found in plant due to which there is a reduction in plant yield. Okay, so see here, these are some examples of diseases of plants. Fungal disease found in plant, and fungi mainly caused rust in plants. For example, brown rust of wheat, red rot of sugarcane, and late blight of potato. All these are disease caused due to fungi. Now bacterial disease example is black rot of crucifers, and viral disease example is tobacco mosaic, that is disease in tobacco caused due to tobacco mosaic virus, and also turnip mosaic, okay, caused by the virus. Okay, so these are some plant diseases. Now these are the pictures of some plants affected by these different bacteria, fungi and viruses. Okay, so see here, brown rust of wheat, this is called brown rust of wheat caused due to fungi. Okay, this is red rot of sugarcane, also caused due to fungal infection. This is late blight of potato. As you can see here, this type of potato is affected by late blight. Black rot of crucifer, as you can see here, and these are the plants affected by viruses. So tobacco mosaic, this black portion you can see here in the leaves, so this is caused due to virus, tobacco mosaic virus, and also this turnip mosaic. Here you can see this black color, so this is due to mosaic virus. Okay, turnip mosaic. Now we have two methods for the breeding of plants for disease resistance. So these are the methods for breeding for making the plants disease resistant. Okay, so two types of methods are there. Conventional breeding techniques, breeding the plants by conventional method, as we have studied in the previous topic. Okay, the conventional method of plant breeding, all those 5 steps that you have done, okay, those are conventional plant breeding method, right? So by conventional breeding technique, we can make a plant disease resistant, right? And another method is by mutational breeding. So we will study about mutational breeding also. So first let's see that what will be the steps for the conventional breeding technique for making a plant disease resistant. So first of all, obviously there will be screening of germplasm, like you know about the first step of the conventional plant breeding method, collection of variability or collection of germplasm, right? So that germplasm is screened, that is checked. Okay, so screening of germplasm, because here we are taking a specific characteristic, that is disease resistant power of the plant. Okay, so we are talking about the resistant power only. Okay, so screening of the germplasm for resistance sources. Resistance sources means the plants having disease resistant power. Okay, first of all we will collect the germplasm, and then we will screen that germplasm, or you can say we will select the good sources from that germplasm, or you can say the plant having disease resistant power will be selected. Okay, so screening of germplasm for the plants having disease resistant power, that is called resistance sources. Okay, now this selected plants, or you can say the selected parents. Okay, just recall all the steps of that conventional method of plant breeding in your mind. Okay, so in next step what we have done, hybridization of the selected parents. Okay, so the disease resistant plants that we have selected from here, from the germplasm, those will be hybridized in the second step, right? So hybridization of selected parents, after that selection and evaluation of the hybrids. Okay, so in next step, selection and evaluation of the hybrids. You will describe all these steps like you have described these in the conventional method of plant breeding, right? Because here we are talking about the specific characteristic of the plant, that is disease resistance power of the plant. So just keep in mind that point only. So every time when you explain any step, that write about that character only. Okay, because in the plant breeding in that topic we were discussing general. Okay, that all the characteristics we were discussing, all the desirable characters of the plants we were discussing, but here we are talking about a specific characteristic. So whenever you do this question, then always describe all the steps. Okay, and just keep in mind about the disease resistance power. Okay, so selection and evaluation step you will discuss here. Selection and evaluation of the hybrid having the disease resistant power. Okay, so those hybrids will be selected and evaluated here. After that, testing and release of new varieties, right? This will be the last step. An example of conventional breeding method for making the plant disease resistant is given here. So this is the plant which is resistant to virus. Okay, no virus can affect this plant. This plant is having the genes for the virus resistant. Okay, and this is another plant having high yielding capacity. So this is high yield crop. When these two are hybridized, then this hybrid crop is having the desirable characteristics of both. So this is an example of conventional plant breeding method. Okay, this plant breeding method can be done for making the plant disease resistant, or for any other agronomic character of the plant, right? Now these are examples of some crop varieties bred by conventional method. Okay, these are some crop varieties which we have obtained by conventional plant breeding methods. So wheat variety example is Himgiri. Himgiri is you can say hybrid variety of the wheat. Okay, and this variety of wheat is resistant to leaf and stripe rust and hilburn. You need to learn all these. Okay, the name of all these varieties and to which disease these are resistant. So you need to learn these things. For example, Brassica, variety name for the brassica is Pusa swarnim, that is also called Karan Rai. Okay, and this variety of brassica is resistant to white rust. Then cauliflower, Pusa subra and Pusa snowball, K1. These two varieties of cauliflower are resistant to black rot and curl blight black rot. Then cowpea, variety name is Pusa komal, that is resistant to bacterial blight. And chili variety is Pusa sadabahar, that is resistant to chili mosaic virus, tobacco mosaic virus and leaf curl. So you need to learn all these all these varieties and to which disease they are resistant. In our next lecture, we will discuss about the mutational breeding method for making a plant disease resistant. Now, based on today's topics, your homework is only one question, that is NCERT question number 7. Now, let's discuss the homework solutions of previous lecture. I gave NCERT question number 4, 5 and 6 as homework. Okay, so this is answer for question number 4 of NCERT. The question is, name the methods employed in animal breeding. According to you, which of the method is best and why? So animal breeding can be classified into two types. It can be done by two methods: natural methods of breeding or artificial methods of breeding. Okay, natural methods of breeding are outcrossing, crossbreeding and interspecific hybridization. You can describe all these methods according to the marks of the question. Okay, so these are outcrossing, crossbreeding and interspecific hybridization are the natural methods of animal breeding. And artificial methods of breeding are artificial insemination and MOET, that is multiple ovulation embryo technology, right? Now, from a commercial perspective, MOET, that is multiple ovulation embryo transfer technology, is considered the best method of breeding as it overcomes the hurdles of natural breeding while ensuring high success rates for crossing between male and female animals. So there are more chances of successful breeding by MOET. Okay, it is also economically viable than other mentioned techniques. So economically it is more viable. Now this is the question number 6 of NCERT. What is apiculture and how is it important in our lives? So importance of apiculture you need to discuss here. So what is apiculture first? Apiculture can also be called beekeeping, and it is defined as the processes and steps necessary to ensure the upkeep and maintenance of honeybee hives for the production of honey and beeswax. So these two substances are obtained here from the apiculture, honey and beeswax, and both these are important for our lives, in our lives. Okay, how beeswax is important in our life? Beeswax is used in many cosmetics and polishes, so it is important in our lives. And honey, how it is important? Honey is essential for many reasons. First, it is highly nutritious and is used as an ingredient in many dishes, right? It can replace sugar as a healthier alternative. Next is, honey has also been used to heal wounds as it is having the antibacterial properties also. So it can be you can say as the medicine it can also be used. It is also considered to alleviate the cold and cough symptoms, right? From a commercial perspective, it is considered as an income generating activity and is not very labor intensive. So it is important for income also. Other than these benefits, apiculture is also very important for pollination of different crops, right? Because you know, honeybees are pollinators for different crops like brassica and sunflower. So it is different. It is important for pollination also. Thank you. One more NCERT question is there, that is question number 6 of NCERT, and the question is, discuss the role of fishery in the enhancement of food production. How fishery is important for the enhancement of food production? Fisheries is defined as a coordinated effort to capture or rear fish through fishing farms and aquaculture. So you can define fishery like this. However, fisheries are not just limited to the fish. For instance, oysters are selectively bred for pearls, shells and tissues. So these different types of substances are also, other than food, these substances are also obtained from different from the aquaculture or from the animals which are reared under the fishery. Okay. Fisheries play a significant role in food production, especially in India. From a dietary perspective, fish is an affordable source of animal protein. So fish provide protein, good source of protein, fish is, right? From a commercial perspective, fisheries provide employment opportunities for residents in coastal areas. So these provide employment also to people.